thank you all for popping in here today. We hope your week is going well. We thought we would run through some tidbits and facts and figures and good best practices for royalty statements, as we had just had a distribution this past Friday. So we thought it would be a good idea to run through how to download statements and how to interpret your statements. We'll have a brief deck and a few different slides and things to show you. Afterwards, we'll be able to answer any questions you may have at that time. Please make sure that you pop your questions in the Q&A box to make sure that we can see them rather than the chat box. Other than that, we'll jump into things. By way of introduction, I'm Sean McNamara. I am the manager of the MLC's Publisher Services team.
And my name is Bailey Coos, and I'm a team lead in our rights management department.
And we are both happy to have you all here. With that said, I'll jump into the deck here. If you'll give me 1 second to share my screen. There's always one extra step in screen sharing that I don't anticipate. Okay. All right, can everybody see that? Bailey's look good?
Looks great.
All right, great. So first and foremost, shameless plug here for our social media accounts. We are on LinkedIn, we are on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, where a lot of these webinars are actually archived for viewing later. But we are very proud of the content we put up on all of these accounts. Personally, I'm a big Instagram person, and I can vouch for how cool the stuff we're sharing there is. So please join us there. Please connect with us anywhere you would prefer. We are happy to connect with you and build a good relationship with you. All right, so I think it's important to note, like we just talked about, we had a distribution on this past Friday, and there's a few key facts and figures to keep in mind with distributions that'll help you anticipate your statements in the long run, important dates for registration, and hopefully this will help you kind of frame everything. I will point out that all of the graphics here are also available on our website if you want to refer to them later on. Don't feel like you have to screenshot or look at this video later. All of this is up for your reference on the MLC.com. It's important to note right up here to the right-hand corner of the screen, that's our up-to-date royalty distribution schedule. That will let you know when you're getting paid and what usage period or usage month that distribution will cover. So this is almost kind of the Rosetta Stone of all of your distributions. If you have any questions about what you're getting paid for and when, start here with this calendar. It's also important to note that our distribution is based on a 75-day cycle. And that means a few things. So essentially, it means that you are paid for a usage period 75 days after the end of that usage period month. So let's take January, for instance. We're talking about January usage. You will be paid in April. There's a few important dates in between. All of our distributions are based on what we call a snapshot, whereby we take a snapshot of all of the data that's in our database, and that's what we use to match to the the usage reports that DSPs provide us every month. That snapshot takes 10 days after the close of the usage month. So in this case, if we're talking January usage, that snapshot for January usage is taken on February 10th. So it's important to make sure that if you have data that needs to be included in the January snapshot, to do it by February 10th. You also have until the 70th day of the cycle, so in mid-April, to update any payment-related information. That's tax information, direct deposit information. That needs to be in by day 70. Again, that would be mid-April in this case, to make sure that we are paying you at the right bank account. And then finally on day 75 is when we will pay you for that January usage. And this is all pretty clear cut. As you can see on the schedule, we really keep to this cycle and we really keep to a strict distribution schedule. And that's to make it as easy and clear for you as possible. Okay, so how do you get to your statements? We have a pretty robust system of statements and income tracking tools on our portal, and hopefully this will help you identify where to find them. You want to start on the home page of your MLC member portal. That's what's in front of you there. You want to tab over to the Royalties tab on the left-hand side of your screen. That's the big bold royalties in the menu. Once you've clicked there, you can see by the drop-down menu for distribution period, you can select the specific distribution period you're looking for. And this screen right here will tell you if you were to have multiple payees or just one payee for your publishing entity, what you've gotten paid in that distribution cycle. There you can see the closing balance. You can see whether you were paid or for whatever reason, if a payment was held back or deferred, that status will be included. You can download a payee activity statement that will also just give you a top line. Here's what you were paid for each distribution month. And then you can download statements. Before we go on to statements, I do want to point out something that's very helpful on the screen, which is the distribution notes. The distribution notes are included for every distribution and for every publisher, and it will tell you exactly what DSP has been included in that distribution. It will include the usage periods that they are paying for, and if anything has been held back from a distribution, all of the detail and clarification you need is also in those notes. But let's go over to the statements, because that's, I imagine, what most of you are here for. You can click the View link at the right-hand column under Statements, and it will bring you to this screen. Again, if you'd like, you can use the drop-down menus to filter by various payees, if you have a few payees, distribution periods. And if you want to break it down to specific DSPs, you can also do that here. So if you just wanted to look at your Spotify statement or your Apple Music statement, you could do it in that DSP drop-down menu. But as a default, the screen will go to every statement from every DSP that you have received for that distribution period. Now, if you'd like to download these statements, you can click the boxes on the rightmost column of this screen. You can select all, you can select individual statements if you'd like. Once you've decided on all of the DSP statements that you would like to receive, you can click the Continue to Download button at the bottom right-hand corner. Now here's where it gets kind of really exciting, because we have some robust options for you here. There are two different types of formats that you can download. You can download a work summary file or a royalty detail file. The work summary has totals rolled up to each individual song, so you can know you made X amount of dollars from this song at this DSP. The royalty detail statement, on the other hand, gets far more granular. You can look at individual uses of that song at the DSP. It will tell you specific track IDs, more specific usage period information. If you really want to get into the why you've been paid what you've been paid, you would download the royalty detail statement. Now you can also download either a consolidated file or an individual file. This happens if you're looking for statements for multiple DSPs at once. If you download a consolidated file, let's say you are looking for statements from 20 DSPs, all of those statements will come to you in one file. If you select individual, you'll get 20 separate files. Once you've decided on what you want to download, you can click the download button. And then it'll be on the way. Two important things to keep in mind here. One, the file will be emailed to you, and it will only be emailed to the email of the user that had requested it. So if you have a few different users on your account and you're the only one that's requested it, it will only be sent to you. So keep an eye on your inbox. It's also important to watch your inbox, because this link will expire, I believe, after 15 minutes. So if you were to go to it an hour later, the link won't work. So be sure that you're ready at your inbox for when that file comes in. If you have any further questions about your access to your statements, any issues with downloading these statements, we're always here to help. You can reach out to us at support@themlc.com, and we will be here to assist you in downloading and accessing these statements. You can reach us out at phone. That's our phone number. That's our email. You can also reach us at the chat bubble that's in the portal at all times as well. We are available from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Central Time, and we will be happy to assist you as much as we can. MLC.com. Again, all of the graphics that we just showed you are available at the website. So if you have any further questions, if you want to refer to these at a later date, you can find them here. And with that, I'll turn it over to Bailey.
Hi, everyone. Again, my name is Bailey Coos, and I'm a team lead in our rights management department. I'm actually going to be going over the statement layout. So once your file is downloaded, you've received it in your inbox and you're ready to view it. For today's purposes, we're going to be reviewing the consolidated royalty detail because it has the most information and it is all consolidated into one file. And that tends to be the most common download amongst our users. So let me share my screen really quickly. Share. Sean, can you see my screen?
Yes, I can. Couldn't hit that mute button fast enough, but I can see it.
Awesome. Alrighty, so this is the layout again for the consolidated royalty detail file that you'll receive in your inbox once you've requested the download. We've broken this out into sections of the statement. So columns 1 through 3 are basically everything to do with the current distribution period that you requested the statement for. So it'll have the distribution identifier, which is usually basically the month of the distribution that you requested, the distribution description, and the distribution date. All of those are very important if you want to see in which distribution you earned your royalties in. Then we move to columns 4 through 19. This is going to be your member and payee information. So what accounts are you receiving your royalties in? This is important just for you to be able to see your account information. And if you have several accounts tied up into one payee account, that is very common amongst our users as well, you can see which accounts and which works are attributed to each account that are earning. So you have your member MLC number. This is your unique 6-character P number, if you will, that you'll see on your registrations or just basically, tied into your account. Your member name and your member IPI number. This is a unique identifier across, multiple different sources of, it's an identification number that says, hey, this is who I am. And then moving on to your payee name. It could be the same as your member number, but if your payee account is different than some of the other, top publisher accounts or administration accounts that could be tied into your account, this is where you would see that. Which payee am I being paid out for right now? Moving on to administrator and original publisher. As I said, a lot of our members have a payee account that has several different member accounts tied up. There are several reasons for this. If you would like to know more about how that setup is, please drop your question in the Q&A. But if you are an administrator for a publishing account, this is where you will see your information like your MLC administrator number, your ISNI, your original publisher name for what you're being paid out for, and so on. Again, if you have any specific questions for how accounts can be set up or different ways you can set up your member account, please drop that in the chat and we'll be happy to answer it at the end of this panel. Moving on to the next section, columns 20 through 28 is everything about the usage period in which you've requested your statement data. So it will include things like the usage period start date and the usage period end date. The DSP identifier, which is a unique number that we assign to each DSP. Again, just for clarification, DSP stands for Digital Service Provider. This is going to be, for example, Spotify, Apple, AudioMac, any DSP that you are earning money from, we assign a number to them, and that's what this identifier is listed as on your statement. We also include the DSP name because it's really hard to remember all the numbers associated with the several DSPs that we work with. So there's also that column for your convenience as well. You have things like your storefront, the use type, the territory. Again, we only distribute royalties that are earned in the United States. So this territory will most likely always say the United States. And then if you have a voluntary license in place with a specific DSP, this will also be populated on your statements as well. Moving on to sections 29 or columns 29 through 37. This is everything about your work registration that you are earning money for. So it'll include the MLC song code, which is the 6-character identifier that you can search for in our portal that is assigned to each of your work registrations. The ISWC number, if it's available, the work title, and the work, if you have an alternative title, that will also be listed in this in your statement as well. The work writer list, which contains all of the writers that are currently listed on the registration. The IPI for the work writer that you are claiming for will be included on your statement as well. And then your work payable percentage. This is basically your publisher share that will be listed on the statement. So if, for example, if you wrote 50% of the song, I Love You, and you share co-publishing rights with another writer listed on the work, your statement will reflect 50% as your work payable percentage. Moving on to the next section, columns 38 through 43. This is the recording data that has been matched to each of your work registrations. So this is really important because you can actually see the track IDs, the ISRCs, and all of the recording data that is affiliated with those in your statements that are being matched to your work registrations. So for example, your DSP track ID. Each DSP has a specific ID that they give each usage track that your song could be included on. So if you have several releases, if you've got, a song that's included on a top 50 playlist, or it's on a different album, or it's the same song, but you made a remix for it. There are specific track IDs that the DSPs assign for each of those types of scenarios. The next thing is the ISRC. The ISRC is a specific identifier that is given to each recording. So this is a very, very important number because every recording has its own ISRC, and you can see specifically what is matched to your work registration. Next thing is the recording title. This is, in most cases, it will be the same as what your work registration title is because, the track should go for the work that you have registered. You'll see the recording artist name and in some cases the duration of the song. So how long is the song? Is it 6 minutes? Is it 5 minutes? You'll also be able to view that data on the statement. And again, this is all data that is matched to your current work registration. So you'll see a work, and then in these columns, you'll see the recording data that is matched to your work. Moving on to columns 44 through 51. This is the product name. So if your song is included on an album or several albums, this is where you can view the actual product information that your track is included on. So you'll see the ICPN number, you'll see the catalog number, the product title is usually the album name, the product display artist name, it'll be the artist that recorded your song, or it will be if it's on a compilation album, those usually say various artists, and then the label in which the release came from, the distributor, and the release date will also be populated if that information is available. Moving on to our last section of the statement is columns 52 through 62. This is everything pertaining to your transaction. This is probably the most important part of your statement that you'll want to look at because, for example, we're starting with the processing type. It's a description to identify usage process during current reporting versus usage process during a prior reporting period. So for any royalties that you are earning in a current reporting period, the processing type will show up as regular royalties. If you are receiving royalties from a prior period and your claim is newly reflected on your registration, the processing type will be called reprocessing, meaning that your claim was not added to the song originally, but it has since been added and you have earned royalties that have basically been sitting in suspense since the claim has not been claimed yet. We also have historical unmatched, which we just started distributing. I guess it was last distribution period. Correct me if I'm wrong, Sean, but I think it was. That is another processing type that you will see on your statement as well. If you have any questions about that, feel free to drop it in the Q&A chat and we'll be happy to address those at the end of this panel. The correction indicator column is very important. This is where you can see if you have had any debits or any weirdness that have been applied to your account. If for some reason there are registration issues or matching issues that we have identified within a work registration in your account, you'll want to visit this correction indicator to see if there have been any debits or anything that have been applied to your accounts that might affect your earnings for that period. The sender transaction ID is the unique identifier assigned to the digital sales report. The number of usages, this will be like the number of streams or basically the number that your song has been used at a specific DSP. The effective royalty rate, this is where you can see the rate at which your song has been paid out. The royalty amount will be listed on there. If there have been any late fees that have been applied, you will see that in that column. And if there are any interest that you have accrued over time as well, that will also be listed on your statement as well. And then finally in column 62, after all of these have been combined, the distributed amount is exactly what we've paid out to you for that line. So this is going to be exactly what you've received and what you should be receiving your payment for. And that concludes pretty much every section that is included on your statements. And I think we can move on to questions if there's nothing else that I missed.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you, Bailey. That was great. I think it was very helpful, and I hope everybody finds it just as helpful. We do have a few questions in the Q&A, so we'll get to those. We'll start with Derek. I do see a few of these questions. This will be a little bit of a shameless plug for us. We have a few questions here that are not necessarily related to statements and are just about how to register works and register as a member of the MLC. This coming Friday, I will also be co-hosting another webinar that's a general Q&A for publishers and self-administered songwriters. Or excuse me, publishers and administrators. We have a separate webinar for self-administered songwriters, but if you're a publisher or an administrator, we will be happy to go into a little bit more detail about the do's and don'ts of the MLC on Friday. If you'd like to join us for that, it'll be at 11 a.m. Central. That said, happy to answer the questions that are already here, but I hope to see you on Friday. So let's get into it. Derek asks, I have Songtrust as a publisher, but when I check my catalog on the MLC, I don't see anything in my catalog. Explain this to me. So in short, if you are registered with Songtrust and they are administering your works, those songs would be registered to their catalog, would not be in your member account. So any works that you have registered with Songtrust, any royalties that Songtrust might be collecting on your behalf, that would all be in their account. It would not be in yours. So I would encourage you to reach out to Songtrust for any more information about your catalog, your royalties or statements, that would all be handled by Songtrust, and they would be the folks that you should be reaching out to. Darcy asks, hey guys, I'm a member and released my first song this year. I'm confused about how to register it on the MLC. Which tab in the MLC backend do I start with? So if you're registered as an MLC member and you have access to our portal, you can find the registration tabs under your catalog tab in your portal. From there, it should be a pretty simple step-by-step process as far as registering your works. Carlene asks, will this presentation be available for replay later? I believe so. I do believe they get uploaded to our YouTube channel, so please keep an eye out there. Let's see. Berland, I'm not quite sure I understand your question. You asked, can I just upload the lyrics? Will it go to its column? I will just say, you can't upload lyrics to our database. What our database is, it houses publishing shares and who collects the publishing for work. So if you collect part of your publishing because you wrote the lyrics of a song, you are free to register your publishing share. But we do not upload any particular, like, the files of songs or recordings of songs or the music versus the lyrics of a song. It's just the publishing share. So I would research that a little bit more to make sure that you do have the right to collect those. And if so, you can register those shares in our database. Okay. Bailey, Daniel asks, can you please go over the processing type again?
Sure, absolutely. So there are a few processing types that you can see on your statements. There are differences amongst all of them. First one that I'll go over is the regular royalty processing type. This is just your regular royalties that you have earned during that current distribution period. The next processing type that is most common is called reprocessing. Now, what this is anything that you've earned in prior periods that have not been accounted for until that distribution, so that you requested this statement for. So, for example, if you registered a song, or if there was a song registered last year, another publisher registered it, it has two different writers, but you haven't had the chance to add your claims to the song yet. Say there's still 50% of the song that has not been claimed and you haven't added your claim yet, but you add it a couple of months later, that will show up as reprocessing. And what that does is it gives you all of the earnings that have basically been sitting in suspense because it hasn't been claimed up until now. And so for all prior periods, you will receive reprocessing money for anything that hasn't been claimed in the past, but has been claimed now. Another processing type that you'll see is historical, and that is for our historical unmatched royalties. Currently, there's a lot of money over time that has not been matched to work registrations due to registration or works not being registered or claims not being registered. And so this will show up as called historical unmatched royalties, meaning it has not been matched in the past and is now matched. And those are going to be for any periods prior to MLC existence. So before January 1 of 2021, any earnings before that will be listed as historical unmatched. And I think that's all the processing types right now that we have currently.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head with that one. Daniel, I hope that helps. Looks like we have one question left here from Christy, who asked a great question. I have several artists listed as having recorded my song, but they have not. They have recorded songs with identical titles, but it is not my song. How do I reconcile that? First and foremost, thank you for your honesty. We appreciate that. We also look for incorrect matches like this, but we really appreciate when a publisher also identifies them and helps us correct them. This does happen from time to time because a lot of our matching is automated. So you may see sometimes a song that is not yours matched to one of your compositions. If you do see those, if you can put all that together and send it over to support@themlc.com, it'll get routed to our team, and we can make sure that corrections are made. There's really two sides to that. One being we will go ahead and look for the match between that recording and your song, and we will break it. And then if you were paid any money for that recording that you know wasn't yours, we will debit that back. That would be, going back to reprocessing types, that would be marked as reprocessing. So a few quick and clean ways to make those corrections. As long as you reach out to us and let us know what those bad matches are, we will be happy to address them. I think that might be it. We'll give everybody another minute or two in case they have any late breaking questions. Again, please put them in the Q&A box. Can't see the chat box. Hopefully this has been helpful. And I will again put in a plug for our webinar on Friday. If you have any other assorted questions that are not limited to statements, you can join us at 11 a.m. Central, our Q&A for publishers and administrators. We will be happy to answer any questions you might have about all things MLC related on Friday. So with that, I think we're pretty quiet in the Q&A, so I think we're all set. Thank you again, everybody, for joining us. It has been lovely speaking with you, and we hope to connect with you soon. Thank you, Darcy. All right. Take care, everybody.